think it's funny when you add a little bit of money to a sport and you give some girls attention, what they can do with it. I think everyone should take a page out of our book and really put some more time and effort into women's everything.
Welcome to Breaking the Glass Hockey Podcast. We are talking women's hockey from the PWHL to the NCAA. We will be talking with players, builders, coaches and fans who have made this great game what it is today. Educate, empower, elevate. Let's go!
Welcome back to episode 23 of Breaking the Glass Hockey Podcast. Your host Brownie with Linda, and we are joined today by Chris Sinclair, the Ottawa Charge beat writer for the Hockey News and the host of the excellent podcast Rinkside Rundown, where Chris does in-depth interviews with women hockey players and shares their stories and how they're shaping the game. It's a wonderful podcast. I'm a subscriber. You should definitely check it out. And Chris, thanks for coming on. We got you here for a specific reason, though. We'll have to have you come back and do maybe a mid-season update on the Charge or something like that. But we have you here for kind of a prickly situation. Well, first off, welcome and thank you for doing this.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I wish it was
He's diving in.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, there's no easy way to transition from that into this conversation, but I do appreciate the compliment about the show and for having me here. I'm very much looking forward to, despite the fact that this is a bit of a prickly situation, as you said. Still looking forward to diving in and chatting about it.
Real quick, this just made me think of it. I'm behind on podcasts while I work because I was away with the family over the holiday, and I just listened to your interview with Jenna Buglioni from Ohio State, buddy. You pulled it out the whole time I was listening. I'm like, ask her about the anthem. And you did it with a minute left. And I was like, yes.
I was looking at the time and I was like, I don't know if I have enough time to get to this story because I know this is going to be good. And then I looked at the time and I was like, I'm going to skip all the other questions I have because if I walk away and I don't talk about this story, I've let everyone and myself down. So what a story, eh? I read that and I knew I had to talk to her about singing the anthem. Now she's being asked to do it more. Hopefully we see it with Seattle at some point. That'd be incredible.
Yeah, no, it was cool. It was a cool moment. And like I said, the whole time I was listening to your interview, I was just like, oh, you better ask her about the anthem at the end. And you came through. You came through, buddy. That was a game winner right at the buzzer there. But well, enough of the niceties. We're here to talk about Lansdowne and the complete gong show that's going on in Ottawa and how it's going to impact the Charge, how it's going to impact the growth of women's hockey, you could say, in the city, in the surrounding areas, and the kind of unchecked capitalism that we don't expect from our northern neighbors. If you just want to give the brief overview, I'll let you go because I seriously have nothing to do with this and I get so angry.
I would say join the club. That's for certain. So the long story short here is that Lansdowne, which is where, among other teams, the Ottawa Charge have played since their inaugural season. They play at the TD Place, which is located at Lansdowne. The city is looking at revamping that area. So adding things like condo buildings and renovating. There's the football field where the CFL team, the Ottawa Red Blacks play. Yep. And then this rink, which hosts both the Ottawa Charge and the OHL team, the Ottawa 67s. They're looking at revamping the arena, the field, the stands. So a number of different aspects to Lansdowne. And so it's been dubbed Lansdowne 2.0 after a recent renovation. I think it was back in 2014 was the last big reno that made it it's a really beautiful part of town. And so at the beginning of November 7th, City Council, after a number of conversations, both with the public and other people, November the 7th, City Council voted 15-10 in favor of proceeding with Lansdowne 2.0. And the big thing that we're going to dive into in this conversation, amongst, I'm sure, many other things, is the fact that in doing so, they are reducing the total seating of TD Place down to 5,500. It's about 5,800 seats or so, plus luxury seating and standing from there. So they're reducing it by about 3,000 seats.
And all right. So first off, the couple of things to keep in mind too. The 67s average just under 4,000 per game over the season, where the Charge is almost 7,000.
Yeah.
So you're putting the Charge in a smaller box, and I don't know, it's like a falsified sellout for the 67s, kind of, by making the building smaller in a way, which kind of rankles me. And what put this on my radar was the strength of the statements from the executives at the PWHL. Amy Shear came out and said, "We have been clear with OSEG and the city. We will not go backwards. We will not play in a 5,500 seat building. These women have worked too hard to get to the point today where a 55 seat building is well below what we average in Ottawa." She goes on to basically say, "We were going to do everything we can to stay in Ottawa, but Lansdowne 2.0 is off the table."
Mhm.
That is about as strong and clear a statement as you'll ever hear from someone in the C-suite in terms of these leagues, which just, I think, speaks to the gravity of the situation and the undermining of what the Charge has built as one of the original six, and the following arguably one of the best fan bases in the league.
What I'll say is I was on that call that she expressed that quote.
Did your jaw just hit the table?
I wish I had a way to describe how, I don't want to say uncomfortable the conversation was, but how truly blunt and honest she was in terms of, she feels like the city has misled her. The city said, yes, you're going to be a part of the process. Yes, any decisions that are being made, you'll be at the table. They haven't been at the table.
Right.
And they haven't been brought in on these conversations. And so to find out, unfortunately, through the public, it's through these announcements that the city has made, that's how the league is finding out that they're reducing the capacity in the arena. And I think one of the things that stands out to me about when we talk about capacity, when we talk about seating in that arena, is that the mayor, even most recently, one of the most recent conversations he had on a local radio station, he cites sellouts from last season. So he cites that the Ottawa Charge only had 4 sellouts last season. So this is another reason to justify reducing the number of seats. When, if you pause for a moment, when you think, especially even on the men's side, but other women's leagues as well, no one's necessarily like, yes, sellouts are a part of that conversation, but that isn't the basis of any seating conversation that you have. You look at the average attendance, the average number of seats that are sold. Last season, I'm no math guy, but I crunched the numbers as best as a non-math guy can do. And last season, the team during the regular season, their average was over 6,800 fans at games. Yeah. And I think back to even there was a mid-January game. It was a blizzard outside. It was awful. And there was still over 5,500 people showed up. And you have to remember that, again, the seating is 50, they say 5,500, but I think I read that it goes up to about 5,800 thereabouts, but say 5,500, that's for regular seating. Anything on top of that, now you're paying extra to be in a luxury box or you're standing. Right. So yes, their argument that, there's still going to be over 6,600 available spots. There won't be that many. Right. And so, you talk about these sellouts being the baseline as to how you reduce seating, when really you never have those same conversations with the men's leagues. Again, it's about total capacity. It's about how many people are showing up for these games just in general, the average attendance. That's math that I did. The city should be looking at that and saying, we're not basing this off of 4 sellouts, because not every team is going to have a sellout every game, right? And that shouldn't dictate the capacity in which you host these games.
Well, and I think the consistency and that you just talked about is what's so impressive in Ottawa for the Charge. The consistency of the number, because you see it wax and wane. I mean, I was at the Fleet game last night, Wednesday night in Boston was really tough. We were running late to get there, a lot of traffic, things like that, but the crowd wasn't great. I mean, the Fleet have a hard time with consistency just from my own experience in the crowds that I've been in. But the consistency that you're talking about only breeds more potential.
Yep.
Right.
Like the need for more seating, and the PWHL has been very clear that they're not looking for having 17,000 seat arenas. 8 to 10 is perfect for them when it comes to this, and they've always stated that. But what I think about too, from the beginning of what you said, this also takes it off the table for hosting an all-star game, things that would draw, like things that would be another revenue driver, another reason to celebrate that team and that league, with such a passionate fan base. They're not going to bring an all-star game to a 5,500 seat arena.
No.
So
No, and it doesn't matter how nice it looks, how the amenities, how modern it is. No,
right,
absolutely not. That's not going to be enough for them. I agree.
right. So I just those are the things I look at, and I say, like you said, it's a falsity or falsification to base it just on 4 games and saying it was only this amount or this percentage.
Well, the other thing about that statement is that statement takes place in a vacuum ahead of or prior to last year's playoff run.
Yeah.
So they make it all the way in one of the most entertaining hockey series that in a long time, men or women's. I mean, as a Bruins fan, I'm dialed for when the playoffs happen, but that I didn't have any skin in the game in that one as a fan, and that was just awesome hockey. And you have this great run, all the momentum. You have great talent on the team. Linda and I both know Gwen Phillips, and I mean, just an absolute beauty she is, and you have these personalities, and the whole city's got behind them, and then just pull the plug on it. You know what I mean? It's horrible.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you bring up the personalities that are on this team, because there are a ton of incredible individuals on this team, both on the coaching staff as well, but of course from a player perspective. And when you speak to them, they all say they love it here. The reason, you think about a player like Emily Clark. She an Olympian. She's one of the best to ever play the game, and she chose Ottawa. And she chose Ottawa because of how beautiful it is here. The history, people don't know necessarily the long history of women's hockey in this city, right? And you just see how connected these players are to the community. And as someone who has the opportunity to speak with a lot of players on my podcast, some of those players are local players here in Ottawa who have all spoken about the impact, the direct impact it has on them to be able to, yes, it's great to be able to see these players on TV on a consistent basis, not having to wait every 4 years for the Olympics or some national tournament, that they get to see them on the TV, of course. But, these summer camps held in Ottawa, I just had a conversation with a player who attended a summer camp this past summer and had a chance to speak with the players. And these players gave her their number. They're going to be able to be there to be able to support. She's heading off to Boston University next fall. They're going to be able to help her, walk her through what that experience looks like. And you don't get that if the team leaves, if the team isn't respected, if the team isn't appreciated as yes, it's great. The product and the ice is great, but the impact it also has on the community is so important, not just to this current generation of players and this current generation of fans, but the next generation and the generation of fans and players after that as well.
Well, what are the options though? Not knowing Ottawa well, been to Ottawa plenty of times, but is it Lansdowne or bust, or are there options on the table?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I truthfully, it depends on what my gut tells me is going to happen. But technically, the options right now are Lansdowne or where the Ottawa Senators play at the Canadian Tire Center. Those are the only two options that are currently available. Beyond that, long term, the solution could potentially be, and we may get to this in this conversation, but may potentially be where the Ottawa Senators are planning.
Right.
They've just they've just approved the building of a new arena down closer to downtown, so they could the Charge could ultimately land there as well. But at least in the short term, it's either they stay at Lansdowne, which is quite clearly not going to happen, or they would move to the Canadian Tire Center, which is in the west end of the city.
And that the new rink that you're talking about, that's, I mean, you're looking 3 years, right?
Oh, you're looking at probably even longer than that, because they haven't.
Okay.
The thing is that the plot of land that the new arena is going to be going on needs to be remediated. So
Oh,
before they haven't even put shovels in the ground yet. We're probably
okay.
talking 7-8 years. I think that
Wow.
the Ottawa Senators are planning on they're currently revamping Canadian Tire Center because it's still going to be an extended period of time before they can move. So if the Charge move to Canadian Tire Center, it would be a shared space. But I mean, that's not uncommon
And
right
that's
now.
going to be like 17,000, 18,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
18,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is hard also,
Yeah.
for different reasons. It's there's nothing worse than greed getting in the way of a good thing. It's unbelievable, and it happens so much. The other thing that I saw, I think it was the general manager, had a statement talking about all how the players, like you said, how that chose Ottawa,
Yep.
but the putting down roots, the buying homes, the
Yep.
plans, the long term solutions, kids in
Mhm.
school, all that stuff,
Yep.
and that's all that is not even taken into account, it seems, and this deal again. Look, I own a painting company, right? And I do, I do hockey podcasts for fun. But even me reading through all this, it does not seem like a great deal for the city of Ottawa. There's a lot of risk associated with this plan.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember, like, this plan right now. I think it's estimated to be completed. So I guess to kind of take a bit of a step back here, the the construction is planned. The planned construction begins the beginning of next year and is
Okay.
estimated to be completed by, it says, Q3 of 2028. So presumably, going back to my retail days, I would assume that's end of year 2028. And so during that period of time, the city has said there's going to be no interruption to any events that are happening there, at Lansdowne, which is, I'll believe it when I see it. I don't
Right.
know how
Yeah.
they're going to be able to do construction without there being any sort of impact there. But I mean, this plan is, it goes all the way until 2034. That's when all of the work is estimated to be done. And it isn't even until years afterwards, which is when the city will start to see potential revenue generated from this. Because quite frankly, like you said, Linda, the arena itself is going to be, it's a smaller arena. So whatever events that they're going to be able to host there, they're going to be looking for larger venues. So they're going to look, especially, by the time all this is done, they're going to be looking at LeBreton Flats, which is where the Ottawa Senators will be moving. Right, they're going to be looking at that as
Mhm.
a better venue, because that will be in an NHL sized arena rather than an even smaller venue at Lansdowne. They're not going to be looking at that. And then it's condos, right? So yes, there's the Ottawa 67s, but as you said, like they're not generating, their attendance has continually, I would say, dropped, but it dropped and it's kind of held at around 3,000 to 4,000 sort of per game. And then there's the Red Blacks, who are starting to get better, but there's just not a lot of stuff there. The Charge are a real driving factor for people to, they'll, if a game starts at 7 p.m., you have fans that are going there they'll go do a bit of shopping first, and then they'll
Have
go to
dinner.
different
Yep.
restaurants, and they'll get their,
Yeah. So they're
they'll have their,
driving the businesses around it. Yeah.
absolutely right. And you're just not going to see that
Why
once
would
they
you,
start.
why would you want 2,000 less doing
Exactly.
that before a game?
Yeah,
The other
absolutely.
thing I came across was the the only way, I might get this wrong, but that's kind of my brand. The only way that this seems to work out financially for the city to not get dinged is that the Red Blacks and the 67s will have to stay there through 2077.
Yeah.
And neither one of them have an agreement past 2032.
Yeah.
So it's like Ottawa, the city, is like wishing on a star. I mean, it's a little more than that, obviously, but there's no commitment, long-term commitment, and they're hoping to make this up in all these different percentages of revenue in terms of taxes and the partnership agreements, city tax revenue, ticket surcharges, and it seems like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like the math adds up, and I think Ottawa, the city, is going to be getting crunched on this.
Well, and you also have the estimated total cost for this build.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have estimates going from $415 million Canadian all the way up to, I've heard 450, 460, even 500 million Canadian to get this done. So you don't necessarily, this plan is moving forward, but the budget seems to be, I mean, for a lack of a better term, appears to be very flexible, and for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
And unfortunately, it comes at the expense of a fan base that, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be able to attend, Major League Baseball games, National Basketball Association games. I've watched a ton of different pro sports. There is single-handedly, I can say it with confidence, with certainty, that I've never experienced a better sporting experience than a PWHL game. And the rink that Ottawa plays in right now, by no means am I saying it's perfect. It's definitely, we'll call it charming. It has an old school charm to it. It is, I think they said it's over 60 years old. It does look it at times, for sure, but there's a certain charm to it that endears it to you as a part of the entire sporting experience. Going to those games, one of the things that makes a PWHL game, and I'm sure that both of you can echo this as well, is that it doesn't matter if you're opponents. You're all there and all supporting what's happening on the ice.
Right.
That's the goal, right? Like, you may be wearing different colors, but you are not rivals. You are all friends. You just happen to be cheering for different teams. And the current Ottawa, the rink that Ottawa plays in, just echoes that. And it amplifies that experience. And by reducing it, the other thing to take into consideration is that a PWHL game is a really accessible game, right? The ticket pricing, of course, we'll see ticket pricing continue to increase. It's part of the business, and unfortunately, that's a reality. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, ticket pricing is really affordable, or much more affordable on the PWHL side, right? So it's a much more approachable, accessible game. But now you're talking about reducing seats by 3,000, but also adding luxury boxes.
Right.
And now you're going to start pushing fans out, because who are you going to be able to, the luxury boxes are going to go to a very specific type of clientele, and that's the business community. Well, now you've reduced seating, and now you've pushed to people to either not attend the game, or they're going to go and they're going to have to stand, right? Rather than having, over 8,000 people there who can all sit, there is one section of the arena that it's the barber shop part of the arena. It's not actually a barber shop. It's just named after a barber shop, but that's kind of like a communal area where you can hang out and stand and enjoy the game. But otherwise, you can sit down everywhere in the rink. That's not going to be the option, especially when you add in the luxury boxes. You're now pricing out a lot of fans who have been there since day one and want to support the team and want to continue being there, but you're going to price them out because now you're focused on these luxury boxes, which is not, that's just the PWHL game is about accessibility, is about being able to be there and meet fans where they are. And they're going to price themselves out of that space.
Yeah. And you said that, I mean, the simplicity of it is what, you're tugging on my heartstrings a little bit with the charm of the arena, with the ending of Matthews Arena here this weekend and the last women's hockey game. So you're talking about it. I'm like, I know a story like that. But Yeah, the simplicity of it, and that creates the great family experience. Like that is driving attendance, that is driving interest, that makes it look great on television. Um, all of those things. I mean, because how it looks on television matters too.
Yep.
When people are watching, they're thinking, look at that crowd. I want to go there. I want to go. Maybe I'm watching from a different city and I'm thinking maybe I should go check out my local team because I'm watching this game, watching, my team play in Ottawa and it's electric. So I'm going to go now see that team. So it's contagious, right? Whatever it is. And that I want to stop though for 1 second, you guys, and just point out because I always like to see the point that we're talking about this, that
Yeah.
there's so much demand
Mm.
and that we're pissed off because they're taking something away. Yes, the typical storyline, not for the women, not built for the women, downsizing, all of that. But that we have this demand, we have this league, we have this demand, we have these fans, we have these people that are just obsessed with the PWHL and women's sports in general. And that's the light that is shined on this dilemma, is that it's a problem because there's a bigger need. Typically we're not used to having this conversation like we need more, give us more, right? So just the positive side of it is that we're having a conversation that just that it's so much success with it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point to make, right? We of course there are a lot of negatives that come with this, but it shows you just how passionate, of course, all PWHL fans are, but
Sure.
especially here in Ottawa, right? This is a really, really passionate fan base. If you ever doubted it, well, you don't doubt it now because look at how much anger this incited, and it comes from everyone, everyone saying, wait, why would you downsize? Like we need more space at the arena. We don't need less, like we want a bigger arena because there's more and more people
Yeah.
are interested in going, right? So again, you ever wonder if it's going to be successful here. I know a lot of people when Ottawa was first announced as one of the inaugural 6, a lot of people were like, Ottawa? Why not a place like Calgary, which has a lot of probably a little bit more known for their women's programs? Why not a place out west, out in Western Canada? Why Ottawa? But then Ottawa has shown up from day one, and they continue to show up, and it's because yes, there's the season, there's ups and there's downs, and we've definitely experienced a lot of downs here in Ottawa, but we experienced a huge last year's playoff run was an incredible experience beyond just the product on the ice, but just being around one another during that experience was something fans are never going to forget. That sort of thing has a lasting impact in this community.
Yeah, a couple of things when you were talking originally about the standing. That's just, I mean, Linda and I both have kids. Chris, I don't know if you do, but that just eliminates a lot of families right there, right out, which is that's your, I mean, I'm not a Bruins fan because I stumbled across the Bruins at age 6. I'm a Bruins fan because older people in my family, right? So that's the way it works. So you're literally cutting off your future fans right out the gate. And then the other thing, like you were talking about the atmosphere and everything, I've always wanted to go to Ottawa because I want to skate the canal. Right, I've always wanted to do it. When I remember when the Fleet went there, I asked Alina Mueller when next time I saw her, I go, "Did you skate the canal?" And she was excited. I mean, Olympics at 16 years old, and she was very excited about skating the canal.
Yep.
And so now I want to go before it's gone, right, to a game because it's very frustrating. Has there been anything? Because I couldn't find any of this when I was looking. Has there been any? Has there been like a clear, concise reason why they wouldn't just build 8,000 seat venue in the new 2.0? Has that been?
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about the budget seeming to be rather flexible. Well, it is not flexible when it comes to adding additional seating. So we've been told that the city has said that it'll cost up to another $100 million to add the 3,000 additional seats. So to bring it back up to where the current arena would cost an additional approximately $100 million. So that's why they'll invest it elsewhere, but they're not going to invest it in adding those seats in.
All right.
Now, I do also want it. There is, and we can get to it, but there is a potential bright light in all of this. So
Okay.
I just want to. We can tease it for now until it's a good time to come up. But there is a potential bright spot, and if we're talking about silver linings, as Linda brought up earlier, there is potentially another one here too.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So for the lay person listening to this, because I feel that way when you're talking about the contract going to 2032 and something taking to 2070, keep staying in there until 2077, and I'm like, what's happening right now? That's what I was going to ask you. Is there no way out here? Does it have any potential to change? Is there anything anybody can do or will do, or is it you take these 5,500 seats and go with it, or just move? Like, is there a potential that something could get topsy-turvy and the Charge, they meet them in the middle? I don't know,
Yeah, I think that's an important part of this conversation. No, in
Yeah.
short, when it comes to Lansdowne, it is moving forward as is. Now, of course,
Okay.
there are going to be construction. I'm sure there are going to be like adjustments that have to be made construction wise, but the basis of the plan is moving forward. It was voted on, approved by council. That's what's done is done now. Now it's about the league negotiating. They're of course going to start with OSEG because that's of course where they currently play. And this is a good segue into the bright light. So I appreciate that segue because
I knew that. I meant for that to happen. Okay.
nailed it. Yeah. Great. I appreciate that. The Senators have come out and they have shared recently that they are very committed to the continued growth of women's hockey, and I'll just read you the quote from them, and this is from the Senators Sports and Entertainment. They're deeply committed to building the hockey community in Ottawa-Gatineau, which is on the other side of the Ottawa River, at all levels, and that includes the women's game. We are always willing to have dialogue and conversations if it fosters the strongest possible outcome for hockey fans in our community. So when we look at the options moving forward, I would say, and this is my gut, tells me that in terms of OSEG, Lansdowne, that's done.
Yep.
If the league is able to then shift, or rather, if the league and the Senators start having a conversation, that's where I think the positives will go. And there's every indication right now. A source has said that, and this isn't my source, this was a source that shared this with a local newspaper, said that the only thing holding them back from getting involved right now is that they don't want to be in the middle of a dispute.
Right.
So that's the only thing holding them back from having that conversation. By all accounts, I mean, there's every indication the Ottawa Senators' new owner, Michael Andlauer, lives in the community. He said time and time again that he wants this community to be successful. And that statement in and of itself showcases just how this is absolutely on their radar, and having them as a partner in this. The Andlauer and his group they've indicated that this is a long-term, the Senators, their purchase of the Senators is a long-term commitment. So there's every indication that if they got involved with the Charge, that would then also be a long-term investment. So,
you know what's crazy is that it's a known fact in the stats. I saw Amy Shear on CBC interview that a lot of the P-Dub fans are not like the NHL fans, right? It's not, hey, let's get some Senators fans over to watch the Charge. Let's hope that they'll come over. That's a smart business move by the Senators, because it's a whole different genre of fans that they're going to be exposed to by supporting them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to say that for new ownership of the Senators to walk into a PR home run by just being like, hey, we're here to support you, whatever you need.
Yeah.
It's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, there's I don't want to put the cart before the horse, so to speak, here, but there is every indication that Michael Andlauer has done a lot of really, really great things for the Ottawa community, Ottawa-Gatineau community. For the Ottawa Senators, of course, that's where I would see, like, if fans are saying like what could be next, keep an eye on the Senators sports and entertainment, because that's where, if the Ottawa Charge were to stay in the city, my own opinion is that would be the new managing group. It will no longer be OSEG, because OSEG has proven they're in it for the Ottawa 67s. That's the primary tenant in TD Place right now. That will be the primary tenant in the new Lansdowne 2.0 TD Arena, whatever they end up calling it. That's their priority. It is not on women's hockey.
I want to ask you a dumb question, because I don't know the Canadian politics. With the city council and the mayor having the vote, the 15 was it 15-10, I think.
Yeah.
Is there an election while this project is ongoing? Could it then be revisited?
I mean, presumably, yeah, there would be. There won't be an election, at least in obviously before the construction gets going on the new arena. The mayor, Mark Sutcliffe, was just elected. I think it was last year or the year before or something like that. So presumably not in the short term, but yes, at some point in this project, there will be elections. Certainly. For the different wards, so different council members, but
Right.
there will also be a mayoral election at some point. Could the plans change? I mean, they've approved the plans. I can only assume that there's some way you can go back and you can renegotiate the deal.
Yeah.
But there are so many moving parts at this point. The plan has been in the works for years, so I would say it's safe to assume that regardless of a new council, you'd have to then amend it, and then you'd have to vote on it again, and you'd have to go through that entire process, which would then just further delay, and that would cost the city money, the further delays, because the process or the project has already been approved. So my expectation, or my understanding would be that yes, there will be new mayoral elections, but I don't know that would ultimately change the outcome, especially with how OSEG is being. How they've approached this situation is just, I don't blame the league for saying what they did and for reacting the way that they did, and for looking at OSEG the way that they do, because the way that they've handled this has been anything but adult, if you will, to put it kindly.
Well, I mean, OSEG is clearly, they're putting, profits over principles is pretty clear. The reason I asked that is because I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I read somewhere in 2012 there was a 30-year deal between OSEG and the city for the original plan, and then before that got to term, OSEG was like, "Oh, we need to renegotiate," and the city was like, "Okay," which it's just, yeah, that's why I was asking if it was something that they could revisit if for whatever reason. It just, I don't know. I will say, if anyone's listening and you want to voice your displeasure, it was really easy finding the executive board members of OSEG on a quick Google search. So feel free to hammer away.
Yeah,
I'm not going to give it
I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, like it, not to get serious here for a moment, but this team has meant everything to this city since day one, and to be in a situation where we have to have this conversation, and instead we're not talking about the Ottawa Charge, their run to the Walter Cup final and coming so close, or
right.
all of these other storylines, so their draft picks from this past year. We're talking about something that we shouldn't be talking about, because
Right.
it, quite frankly, especially this early on, like this team means far too much to this, not just Ottawa, but the surrounding area.
Yeah.
This generation of young girls and generations to come, we should never have the fact that the vote was the way that it was is embarrassing. The fact that it needed to even get to this point, and there weren't those amendments made prior to, where we're saying, hey, look at the average attendance of these games. We
Right.
have to keep it there. It's pathetic. So I wish that we were talking about other things, because this team means way too much to this community and to the many generations of young girls who are looking at these athletes as finally saying, the saying, if you can see it, you can be it.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, maybe the P-Dub, like I don't know the ins and outs of what they ask for in commitment to building building commitments when they start a team, because it hasn't been that long.
Mm.
Maybe this is a step where they now need to put something in place, some kind of contract that things can't change, or at least can't go down in the future.
Yeah, without some sort of notice and some sort of
Yeah, like
conversation.
some kind of clause, right?
Yeah, which is what a big aspect of this whole
Sure.
situation that's been frustrating from the league's perspective.
Oh, and then the ancillary points of this is that there's been all these rumors about 4 new teams, coming into the P-Dub. And if Ottawa moves and relocates or leaves Ottawa for some reason, which I hope doesn't happen, does that then affect teams coming in? And then you lose a Canadian market. And there's all these, horrible scenarios that could have been avoided.
Well, and you have like every market wants a team, right? Like you have
Yeah.
these takeover tour games are incredibly successful.
Right.
Every one of them is incredibly successful. You have these markets that want a team, and here in Ottawa, the fans want the team, and the city council has said, you know what, we're good.
Yeah.
It's been a good 3 years, and we're we've had a good run, but we got to focus on these condo buildings and all these different aspects, right? So yeah, absolutely, it's. If this team were to relocate, there would be a laundry list of cities that would line up and would be fighting each other to get to the front of the line. And again, here we are. We have a city council that just wants to throw it all away.
Again,
It's funny
it's
when
awesome.
you said we're
It's awesome that we're
good.
talking about it. Oddly
Yep.
enough, it's just a weird juxtaposition that we're in, that we're talking about this way.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, in reading the statements from the council members, that was the impression on the no vote, the yes votes. They were just like, yeah, there's other things we want to spend money on. Seemed to be, and then they were trying to spin it like we want to put it back into the hospital. It was like, come on, and it was very. Maybe I'm jaded, but it seemed very transparent to me that it was just like, what are you doing? It just
I don't know. Listen, I don't know how much these condo buildings or these condos are going to cost to live in, but I can tell you right now, those condos that are currently there are very, very expensive. So yes, it's great that you're building housing. You're not building affordable housing.
No.
We can go that's a whole other conversation, right?
Right.
None of the things that they're investing in are necessarily helpful to the city as a whole. And certainly then, unfortunately, neither is the fact that this has put the Ottawa Charge in an awful situation where they have to either look at potentially playing at Canadian Tire Center, which is not where they want to be playing, or they relocate.
What is because you're at the rink and you're around the team and around the fans. I see you, doing your things from the seats and stuff, which are great, by the way. What is the feeling of the fans? Like the finger on the pulse, man on the street kind of thing.
There's a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. And I would say, like, yes, of course, anger, but there's a lot of sadness, right? Like I've spoken about the impact that this has had on generations of young athletes, but you mentioned it earlier about families. This is something that, having this come to town has totally changed. Like a game day is an incredible experience for everyone involved. And to be so close to these players, to be able to see the best women's players in the world, and in that arena, the way that we see it is something that fans never in a million years thought that they would have the opportunity to see. And to see the engagement, the connection of these players to the community, and the conversations and the way that they're getting involved in the community is something that they're creating unforgettable experiences, not just on the ice, but off the ice. And to be in a position now where where fans are sitting here saying, like, we don't know. Yes, we know that the team's going to be around for presumably the next 2 years while they're constructing, because they're still going to be playing in TD Place where they currently play while the construction is happening elsewhere. So until that construction is done, the team will be here, but they don't know the uncertainty something that they care so deeply about. Like, imagine what that would feel like, right? When you finally found something that you so deeply love and care about, and you have no idea if it's going to still be here in 2 years. 2 years sounds like a long time, but it's going to
No.
fly by.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
So there's a lot of course, again, like I said, there's a lot of anger, but there are a lot of upset fans and a lot of upset young girls who are saying, I finally had a dream and you're
Right.
taking it away from me.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk about this. It's a heavy subject, but I'm glad to get your perspective, and hopefully we can help share it and help get more eyes on it. And I don't know, maybe some miracle like you with the anthem question on your interview. Maybe it'll be a last minute save. We kept holding out hope for Matthews in the same way, but sometimes progress gets in the way of what it's meant to help.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but I would love to have you back on, like I said, at some point during the season to talk strictly hockey and just about how great Ottawa's doing and how Phillips is dominating, because she's such a cool cat. I just love her. She's so fun to talk to.
Yeah, she's great. There are 3,000 red seats available at Matthews Arena starting at the end of December that they could just pop
Oh,
over.
yeah,
Pop
that's
over.
right.
We'll grab a U-Haul and we'll just do the work for them.
Exactly. They just had an email just came out and they're selling the seats. I'm like, $1,000 a seat, 3,000 seats. That's less than what you said it would be. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll pile our money together and we'll make this happen. But yeah,
A lot of history in those seats too.
I wish we had an opportunity to talk about something a little bit more positive, but I do appreciate the opportunity to come on here and chat about this. This is something that I care deeply about, of course, not just because I cover the team, but because I get the chance to speak to these young athletes who are directly impacted by this. So I appreciate the opportunity to chat today.
Sure, and that's truly the positive piece, Chris. That is the positive of it, is that you're vocal, you're talking about it, you're intimately involved with this team and this organization. And we talked about, needing a voice on here to talk about it that was as knowledgeable as you are and understood the personal side of it as well as the business side. So appreciate it.
Yeah, so thank you for coming on. Please go subscribe, download Rinkside Rundown, check it out. It's a great podcast. Chris does a very nice touch, very engaging, and he's not as harsh as we are down here. He's much nicer. I did want to ask you one. This is just a random thing that popped into my head. Working for the Hockey News, like as a kid, seeing the Hockey News, because we only saw it in the rinks down here, was such a cool thing. You felt like, oh my God, look, I have a Hockey News. Did you have that feeling when you first started doing it? You were like, oh my gosh.
What's wild is that growing up as a kid, my mom actually had signed me up for the actual physical copy would be delivered to our place. I think it was every week or every month or something like that. So it was always an exciting time because I would be reading through the actual magazine, the Hockey News magazine.
Yeah.
And then when they approached me heading into the first season of the league, they approached me to ask if I wanted to cover the Ottawa Charge for them. I was like, what? This is wild. Not in a million years did I think that, or did that kid think that however many years, I'm not going to date myself later, I'd be writing or I'd be contributing to them. It's an incredible, it's a pinch me moment every time I click that publish button to have this opportunity, not just to cover this team, but to do so for a magazine that I've been reading since I was a young kid.
Yeah, I remember getting them at the rink. You felt like you found it was like a treasure. You're like, oh my gosh, look at this. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad we got to end on a positive there. And I'll reach out mid-season or so and see where the Charge is and have you come back on. We'll talk just strictly hockey and have fun.
Oh, I can't wait. That's going to be great.
All right. Well, thank you. And we'll see you soon for our normal nonsense.
Take care.